I'm Katie Valentina, and if you don't know me, I'm currently in the process of self-publishing my debut novel, The Tide Always Comes Back. It's a mature young adult contemporary romance novel with mystery elements, diverse characters, and it's set on the coast of England. I like to describe it as the Summertime Pretty meets Outer Banks meets Cruel Summer meets Blood and Water, but we're also going to throw in Motorheads because that show just came out and I really like it. Over the past few weeks, I've been collaborating with some of my favourite AuthorTubers as a part of my crowdfund for publishing this debut novel. If you'd like to find out more, you can check the link in the description or you can scan the QR code in the corner. And today I'm going to be collaborating with the amazing Lindy Jung. She is going to be a traditionally published author with her debut novel Moth's Blood, and today we're having an interesting discussion on the differences between traditional versus self-publishing. So I'll let Lynn introduce herself and then we'll get straight into the discussion.
Hi, my name is Lindy Jung. I am a soon-to-be traditionally published science fiction and fantasy author, and I am so excited to be on Kato's channel today.
Thank you for being here. So we're just going to jump right into the questions. So my first question for you, Lynn, was what made you choose the traditional publishing route?
I would say I feel like it was one of those things where I learned about traditional publishing very early on. Like, I've been writing since I was a kid. I specifically remember it was this one children's book called A School Story by Andrew Clements, where the main character is like an elementary schooler or something who gets traditionally published. Yeah. And ever since then it's kind of been stuck in my head. In a more like logistical sense, as I've gotten older and been able to consider indie publishing and self-publishing, I think just the distribution, the benefits, and also the ability to like work in a team of publishing professionals really appealed to me a little bit more than all of the hard work that goes into self-publishing, which is an immense amount of work. You guys are superstars. It could not be me personally. Yeah. So yeah, I think all of those kind of factored into pursuing traditional publishing, which I've also been doing for a really long time.
Yeah, like you just mentioned, if you hadn't been successful, would you have still chosen to publish this novel?
I don't think so. So I've had 2 books die on submission for traditional publishing previously, and both of those I just kind of shelved and moved on to the next thing. So for me, I think traditional publishing is almost slightly more of the goal than publishing a specific book, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay, but that is actually interesting. So you're saying that for you, it was mainly becoming a traditional published author was the goal rather than a specific book.
Yeah, and I think that might be one of the defining differences, maybe. I don't want to say that in like a hard and fast rule kind of way, but I think that for a lot of TradPub authors, we accept that it will take several books and several failures, several shelved projects before we have something for people to read, right?
Yeah.
And that's just kind of part of the process. I don't think it's good or bad. I think it's just something that a lot of TradPub people have to accept, and have accepted as part of the process. And we also, I think that traditional publishing becomes the goal in that scenario. Okay, so I'm so curious about like self-publishing marketing, and again, I know you guys do so much work, and I don't even understand, I think, like 25% of it. So my first question is, what do marketing efforts typically look like for self-publishing? Or I guess for you, Kato, specifically, what are you hoping to do? What's your like pie in the sky, big marketing dream for self-pub?
Well, that's double question. The first part, what marketing has been like for me, has mainly been, I have started talking about this book on social media last year. And before that, I'd never, like, even my friends, I've been writing this for like 5 years, but I never mentioned it to anyone. So that was such a big thing, just speaking about it on social media. And I feel like for a lot of indie authors now, having a social media presence plays a big role of marketing your book, because you're not just marketing the book, you're marketing yourself as well. And even like, for example, I've been watching your channel for ages, and even though you're not an indie publisher, I feel so connected to you and your book because I've been watching you since you started talking about it. So it's a type of thing where you're building that connection with your audience before you have to start speaking about the book. But I feel like a lot of that is luck. A lot of marketing on social media is luck, because sometimes it does feel like you're talking to a brick wall, especially on like TikTok and stuff. Because it's a lot of hard work, like you mentioned, constantly putting yourself out there and maybe not seeing the results. But I do think building a community is something that's been so lovely. I feel like my big marketing goal, I'd love, like, when I see like merchandise boxes and things like that being sent out to readers, that's one of my big marketing goals, and that's part of the reason why I'm doing a crowdfund in the first place, because I'm kind of similar to you, whereas I don't want to publish the book if it's not going to be done well, if that makes sense. Like, I don't just want to publish it for the sake of publishing it. I want it to be in a lot of people's hands, and I want to be successful. So whether that's this year or years to come, I'd love for it to just be a really successful marketed book, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes perfect sense.
Did you ever feel the pressure to write your novel in a way that appealed to the traditional publishing market?
I would say no, with a caveat. I think I felt anxiety about how my book would not conform to the traditional publishing market quite a bit, but that hasn't been enough to push me into changing aspects of it. Like, for example, it's kind of a little well-known thing. Books with sapphic main characters have a little bit of a harder time appealing to a broader audience, which is bad.
Yeah.
But I would have anxieties about that, but I would just always stick to my guns. And I know that I know many authors who have felt that pressure to kind of, whether they were told directly by someone in the industry or whether they're feeling that anxiety themselves, may have changed some things about their book. But at the end of the day, I don't know, my book is my book, and I'm really very fortunate that I found people in the industry who resonate with it, champion it as it is, see its strengths. So I'm very lucky in that, like, my book was accepted the way it was pretty much, and that every edit we've done has just increased those elements that I love and are personal to me and are important to me and maybe aren't, I don't know, the most marketable, who knows. And yeah, I would say if I had self-published, I don't think it would look that different, honestly, which is a really good place to be.
No, I love that. Do you feel like whilst you were querying, having so much interest made you feel more confident in your story as well?
Maybe, yeah, it probably contributed. I think I've also just been doing this for a really long time, and at this point, even though I've had failures, it has just made me better understand my craft and have more faith in myself as a creative. So yeah, I think it's like part experience, part that was a very validating thing that happened.
I love that for you.
Mine is a very logistical set of questions. But how much would you say is common to invest in self-publishing a single book, including like the publication costs themselves, editing, and marketing?
I actually don't know what's normal for people to put into their books. I know a lot of people just self-publish and that's it. Like, they just post about it online or they tell people about it and leave it at that. But I do know people who save up a lot to be able to put a lot into marketing. I think for me, my main cost is actually my editor. My editor costs between like $2,000, $3,000. I forgot the conversion, but it's between those prices. And that is because she's someone who's like quite successful. She's worked with people like Emily Henry on her YA novels. And I think for me, I really wanted this book to be quality. And so I don't mind investing that sort of money into it. But there's also things like, I think marketing will actually be the main chunk, like ads and working with people on social media, because I think social media has definitely changed the way that books work, really. Selling books works. But then also formatting, cover design. There are so many little things that go into making a book that I actually didn't realize until I started researching it. So for me, my goal that I want to put into this book is between £12,000 and £15,000. And as a student, that's quite a huge number. I don't really have a job, but I am working towards saving that amount of money and putting that into the book.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah.
I mean,
it is such a huge commitment, but I can absolutely tell you're committed to doing this the right way. And not that there's a right way, but doing it as best as you can. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Especially as a student. Oh my gosh. That's so impressive.
Thank you so much. I haven't got the best time management, but I'm making it work. So you previously had experience querying, and you said that you didn't have your ideal outcome on submission. So what did what did recovering from this experience look like for you, and what did you learn?
Oh my gosh, good question. I don't think you ever really recover from having books die on submission because although we have those trad pub goals of like, just keep going until you get one, it is like traumatic. The first book that I had die on submission, I had spent 10 plus years working on. I'd been writing it since I was actually a child. And obviously it wasn't the same version that 9-year-old me wrote, but it was a book that had grown with me. The characters were really close to me and my heart, and like it was a tough one to let go of.
Yeah.
But I think just kind of I've written 3 books I've written 2 books since then. That was my first, second, and Moth's Blood is my third. And I can see the growth there, and I think that growth is really what kept me going. Seeing how much I could develop and grow as a writer between books helped me recover a little bit, rather than just throwing myself into the next thing, really being careful and saying, okay, what did we learn from this experience? What can we improve on in terms of just the craft level? And yeah, I think every book has taught me a different lesson. First book taught me to write these fleshed out characters who feel like people. Second book taught me prose. And then Moth's Blood taught me like thematic cohesion and plot and world building. And just every time there's a different lesson, and I think that's really exciting.
So you feel like it worked out the way that it needed?
I think so. I think I'm very much like everything happens for a reason. And, I went on the path that I went on because frankly, at this stage, if my first book, as it was, had gotten picked up and published, I don't think I'd be very happy with my career. Because Moth's Blood is so different and is so much closer to what I want to write. But I'm also kind of like Delulu that I do want to go back to those first 2 failed books and see maybe if there's something I can do with them, and see if there's a path for them down the line.
That would be so cool. I was literally going to ask, do you think that you would ever revisit those books? But I think that would be really cool as well, especially with like a new perspective as a writer.
Yeah, they'd be so different. How would you say that the readership of indie and self-published books differ from those of readers who lean toward like traditionally published books? Is there a difference? Like, have you noticed a difference in like preferences in genre or types of books, etc.?
Yeah, I feel like in a way it's less of a difference between the readers themselves and more so how people view the book and the author. Because I feel like if I tell someone, oh, I published a book, saying I self-published it via whatever platform versus saying it was picked up by one of these big publishing houses, people view those very differently. But I think that's less of the reader and more of just there being like a stigma around self-published books for whatever reason that there is. In terms of genre, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like you can get away with doing more genres as a self-published author, or like not being so streamlined on the genre that the book is. You can kind of bend more because there's no restrictions around that. Whereas I feel like, from what I've seen, because I don't actually know, what I've seen from traditionally published authors is sometimes they're kind of forced to like turn a certain way whilst writing their story so that it appeals more to publishing houses. Like, I've heard from some authors say that their agent told them to add more romance into the book or add more of something else into the book to make it more marketable, whereas maybe that's not something that they would have wanted to do. But I don't know if there's a difference between the actual readers themselves, more so just how people see the book.
No, yeah, that stigma is so ridiculous and unfair, but I can definitely see how that would impact that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So my next question for you was, what has been the most exciting part of the publishing process so far?
Ooh, I think definitely editorial. I have so much fun with revisions. I love like a collaborative revision. And my editors, both of them, are so good at their jobs and are seeing things in the book that like I would never have picked up on and were either accidents or I included subconsciously. And yeah, just like the discussions around editorial, around the book, feeling like both of my editors are fully engaged in the material. They've read it front to back multiple times. Like, honestly, our calls feel like a little book club.
Yeah.
Where we're talking about like the themes and the characters and just trying to get everything to the next level. How do we make this the most of this that it can possibly be? And yeah, I mean, that was one of the parts I was most excited for with publishing, maybe even more so than like actually publishing a book. But for me, I love editorial. I've always loved revision, and it's so cool and special to be able to work with professionals who are so good at what they do, and who really like care about the book, which is really exciting. And yeah, I know some people don't like it. I think I also got lucky because I have two very nice editors and we work really well together, I think, and understand each other. But yeah, that by far has been my favorite part of the process.
That's actually so interesting, because I feel like a lot of people say that's their least favorite, like doing revisions and stuff. No, but I do get it. I feel like I had not a similar experience, but kind of when I sent my book out to beta readers and being able to talk to people about the story and knowing that other people understand these characters and connect to those characters, it's such a like surreal experience. So
it's so cool. It's like, I mean, it's just a small sample of what having an actual readership will be like, I guess, but it's so cool to have your work perceived in that way and have it analyzed and stuff. Yeah. So this one's a little bit different. What are your thoughts on the feasibility of becoming a hybrid author, and what are some reasons authors might choose this path for themselves?
So I actually love this question because I wouldn't say it's an easy thing to do, but it's definitely a dream of mine to become a hybrid author. The main reason why I initially wanted to traditionally publish my debut novel, but I just thought about the timeline. Like, I really wanted it to come out next year, and that timeline is very out of my hands if I pursued the traditional publishing route. Because whilst like I know you're querying, I think about it all the time when I watched your querying vlog, and it was just like, it made me so hopeful. I was like, I could do this really soon too. But then I watched other people's querying vlogs and it was like the complete opposite, and it took years. So it's that being so out of my hands was something that I was kind of worried about, because I just really wanted the book out. Not even in like I was rushing it sort of way, but I just didn't want to wait loads of years potentially before it came out. So that's the reason I wanted to self-publish this one. Also, like, thinking about the creative control and being able to decide what the cover looks like and what the merch looks like and what the marketing looks like, that was all really exciting to me. But if this book was to be picked up by a traditional publisher, I wouldn't be like, no, I don't want that. Like, if after I self-published it, I mean, it was picked up, like, that would be really cool. But I also feel like I have ideas for other books. Like, I have an idea for a fantasy book, and I just know that I wouldn't self-publish that. Like, I would want to query that, and I would want to traditionally publish that. And I think it is just the fact that the books have very different needs, in a sense. Like, I can self-publish this book because it's so personal to me, whereas I feel like a fantasy book, I'd want it to be different. So I think that's why some authors choose to be a hybrid author. Mainly like the creative control side of self-publishing versus the scale of traditional publishing, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so interesting. Also, like, I hadn't thought about different books kind of having different needs, or you having a different relationship with the books.
Yeah,
that's really good. Yeah,
I don't know many hybrid authors, though. I do. Sorry.
Oh no, I was also like, I don't think I can't really name any off the top of my head, but I know that they're out there, and I know there's a couple on AuthorTube even, right?
Yeah, I love AuthorTube. I love it here.
Me too.
Do you feel like you've been able to maintain a certain level of creative control throughout traditional publishing?
Yeah. Again, a caveat in that I think I got really, really lucky. Again, with editors who really understood my vision for Moth's Blood in particular. I'm not taking this for granted. I probably, like, I'm working on my second book and I'm like, yeah, that one's probably gonna take some hits critically. But yeah, I think people I think might have a misconception about traditional publishing, and I'm not saying it's unwarranted. I actually just filmed a video about this, but it's this idea that like, oh, once you sell your book, it's not your book anymore.
Yeah.
And I've personally just found that to not be the case. I think there are different situations for different authors, and I think especially with something like a book you sell on proposal. So for example, I have an option clause in my contract where I have the choice to send in my next book as like 3 chapters and a synopsis, and they could buy it based off that, and then I could finish the book. That's a pretty common thing that happens in TradPub. But in that case, if the book isn't finished and the final product turns out to be kind of different from the synopsis, then I feel like that's a situation in which publishing house, editor, it's like an earlier stage in the project, so they might have more creative input.
Yeah.
But because I sold my debut as a complete book, as you do, and because the people who bought the book liked the product, they liked the book, I feel like, this whole time I've felt listened to. I haven't really had any situations where I was given a note that I really disagreed with.
Yeah.
But I know that if I did get that note, I would be able to have that conversation and be like, why would you, suggest this? Maybe we can try this instead. Here are my reasonings for not really wanting to pursue this edit. So I do think at the end of the day, especially for a debut that's sold as a whole book, the people who buy it, like, see merit in it, they see promise in it, they liked it enough to pick it up out of the thousands of books they get in the slush pile or, sent through agents. And I think that if you like understand the identity of your book and you understand what works about it and you feel pretty confident in yourself as a creative, then yeah, I feel like I've had almost complete creative control over my book so far.
That is amazing, actually. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think a big part of it plays into who ends up picking the book.
I think so too, yeah. I got super, super lucky. Like, I cannot be happier with my editors.
You deserve it though. I'm honestly so excited to read this.
Oh, thanks.
No problem.
I'm in denial that it's coming out, but I'm having fun so far. So what does connecting with booksellers and bookstores look like as an indie author? Is that something you've considered, like local bookstores and that kind of thing?
Yeah, definitely. It's not something I've done a lot of research on so far, because currently the book isn't even I'm on the last draft, the draft where I'm saying this is the end before I send it off to my editor. So I haven't quite thought about this yet, but I've thought about it, but I haven't planned it. I have a friend, mutual friend on TikTok, and she's getting her book traditionally published, but she's still doing loads of the marketing herself. So she's done this thing where she has book packages where she's got her book and a few goodies, and she's been going around to local bookshops and gifting it to them, asking them if they would potentially stock the book. And I just think that's such a cute idea and such a fun idea. Mm-hmm. And that's definitely something that I would think about doing, especially in I live in a town, so I don't live in a big city. So going to local bookshops here would be I just think it would be so nice, especially because I grew up in these bookshops and I grew up with these people. It would be really nice gifting them my books, and even my school's library, my secondary schools, thinking about going back there. I do think that would be such a nice thing, and it's one of those cute little things that I can't wait to do. But in the future, I think I'll start thinking about that towards the end of this year. Or even book signings and stuff. I think about doing those at local bookshops as well. So yeah.
Yeah, that's so exciting. I love the idea of a little gift package.
Right?
Bookstores,
It was so cute.
That's so cute.
This is actually my final question. Yeah, I know. What would be your most important advice to writers who are determined to pursue traditional publishing?
I think persistence, but also keep growing. Keep getting better at what you do. Take each failure as a lesson, and I think that is the best way to, instead of just being blindly persistent. Keep stepping up on that ladder and improving your craft. And also, it doesn't take a day. It took me 10 plus years of like actively pursuing traditional publishing to get to this stage, and I still feel like at any point they can take my book deal away and I'll be back at square one. So yeah, I mean, like, another thing is that social media is wonderful. I love connecting with other authors. I try to be as transparent as possible about how long it took me and how much work it took me to get to TradPub deal level, and I still feel like people think that it happened in like a day. So don't believe the narratives you see on social media all the time. Like, it takes a long time for pretty much everyone. And that's okay. That's normal.
Yeah.
Try to be realistic about it instead of just being like, oh, everything happened for me in a year. What a fairy tale. Like, no, it was grueling. I lost 2 books. One was very, very important to me. Like,
yeah. And I really love your vlogs because even now that you have got your deal, you're still very transparent about how like overwhelming sometimes it is in editing, and I do love that.
Thank you. I'm glad that comes across because yeah. I love that people know that I'm overwhelmed. It's like, yes, I am very overwhelmed. Okay, time for my last question. So, outside of social media, what are some ways that indie authors can connect directly with readers? You talked about like the bookstore connection. Anything else that comes to mind? Or anything that you are hoping to do, plan to do that like direct connection?
Yeah. I think the main thing I've been seeing are like book festivals and book events. Like the other day, there was this festival called Hay Festival in the UK, and it was like the Coachella of books. Like, there were so many authors there, so many writers and readers, and I would love even to have a little stall in the back corner somewhere. Like, that would be so cool. Or loads of book events, because I see a lot of them where some of my favorite authors are talking at them or they have a stall at them, and I didn't realize how many there are, and it's just one email away. Like, it is very accessible. So besides social media, that's definitely something that I'd love to do. And yeah, the bookshop thing as well. So yeah,
that's so fun. I haven't thought about book festivals that much, but I know that the UK has like a fair number of them going on.
That was really cool. That was so good. Honestly, I thought it would take so much longer. That was such a nice conversation. And I'm honestly, like, I know I've said it so much and I just need to shut up, but I've loved your videos for so long, and you've actually been such an inspiration for me as a writer. So this has been such a lovely collab to do. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This has been absolutely wonderful.
Do you want to like plug your channel? Not that you need more audience from me.
No. I mean, sure, yeah. You can find me at Lindy Jung on YouTube, on Instagram. Is it okay if I plug my debut?
Yeah, obviously.
Okay. My dark academia adult fantasy debut, Moth's Blood, comes out fall 2026 in the US and UK, and it's got alchemists and murder and bugs, so I don't know if you're into that kind of thing.
Perfect combo. So that was the discussion between me and Lynn. Again, thank you so much, Lynn, for doing this video with me. I absolutely love her channel. I've been watching her for ages. I know I've said it a million times now, but it's true. So if you aren't subscribed to Lynn's channel, you should definitely go subscribe and follow her journey in publishing her debut novel, Moth's Blood. Also, don't forget to donate to the crowdfund. The link is in the description. You can scan the QR code. The crowdfund is ending in a few days now if I don't choose to extend it, which I might, but honestly, I don't think I'm going to. If you haven't donated yet but you're waiting to, now is the time. Now is actually the time. No donation is without a perk. You can get a free chapter, you can get a signed copy, you can get an early ebook, you can get merch, you can get so much. You can even get your name written in the book. But wouldn't it be so cool if you could say that you're the reason why a best-selling novel became a best-selling novel? Yes, it would. So make sure you go check that out, and also like this video if you liked it, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of me, and if you want to hear more about my novel The Tide Always Comes Back. It's publishing next year, fingers crossed, literally only with your help. But yeah, this has been so exciting, and I will see you guys next week, hopefully, for a brand new video. Bye!